In 1975, on a peaceful street in Long Island, New York, stood a beautiful Dutch colonial home at 112 Ocean Avenue, lined with identical houses, manicured lawns, and white picket fences. It was the picture of suburban dream. But behind its charming facade, this house harbored a history so dark it would become a global symbol of terror. Just 1 year earlier, this home was the scene of an unspeakable tragedy. Put in the dead of night on November 13th, 1974, 23-year-old Ronald Butch DeFeo Jr. calmly walked through the house with a high-powered rifle. As his family slept, he methodically murdered them, all his parents, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters. The police discovered a baffling crime scene. All 6 victims were found lying face down in their beds, each shot even more chilling. Not a single neighbor reported hearing the gunshots that tore through the silent night. When authorities questioned Butch, his explanation was terrifying. He claimed that voices inside the house had commanded him to kill. Over the years, his story would change countless times, but one truth remained. An unspeakable evil had already taken root within those walls. A year later, George and Kathy Lutz, a young couple with 3 children, saw the house as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They purchased the fully furnished home for a mere $80,000, a fraction of its market value. They were fully aware of the horrific murders that had taken place there, but they were convinced that the past couldn't harm them. They were wrong. On the day they moved in, a family priest arrived to perform a blessing. As he made his way through the house, he entered an upstairs bedroom, the very room where one of the DeFeo boys had been killed. Suddenly, a deep, guttural voice boomed through the cold air, commanding him, "Get out!" Terrified, the priest fled the house, his hands blistering as he tried to call the Lutzes to warn them. He urged them never to use that room for sleeping. The family, still caught up in the excitement of their new home, simply laughed it off. But their laughter would soon fade into screams. From the very first night, their dream home became a living nightmare. Unexplainable cold spots appeared throughout the house, chilling them to the bone, no matter how high they turned up the heat. The heavy front door would mysteriously unlock and swing open on its own. Foul, unidentifiable odors would drift through empty hallways, only to vanish moments later. Even the family dog, Harry, seemed to sense the malevolent presence, refusing to go near certain rooms and growling at empty corners as if something unseen stood there. George's behavior began to change drastically. He started waking up every single morning at exactly 3:15 a.m., the estimated time of the DeFeo murders. He became withdrawn and irritable, developing a strange obsession with chopping firewood and keeping the fireplace blazing day and night, even in mild weather. It was as if a dark force was slowly pulling him into the same madness that had consumed Butch DeFeo. Then came the sounds. Footsteps creaked across the floors upstairs when everyone was sound asleep downstairs. Disembodied whispers seemed to echo from the air vents. A phantom marching band rhythm would sometimes fill the house, so loud it felt like the walls were vibrating. Kathy was plagued by vivid nightmares of the murders, reliving the horrific events night after night. She claimed to see a shadowy figure standing beside their bed in the darkness. Meanwhile, their youngest daughter, Missy, began talking about a new imaginary friend she called Jody. Missy described Jody not as a child, but as a red-eyed, pig-like creature who lived in her room. One terrifying night, Kathy was looking out the window when she saw two glowing red eyes staring back at her from the darkness. The same eyes Missy had described. As the days crawled by, the house itself seemed to turn on them. Heavy doors were torn from their hinges with impossible force. A strange, black slime began oozing from keyholes and down the walls. A crucifix they had hung for protection was found twisted upside down on the wall, a clear sign of demonic mockery. The priest who had performed the initial blessing tried to call and warn the Lutzes again, but his phone line filled with deafening static. Through the noise, he heard that same deep voice repeating two menacing words over and over: "Get out." By the 28th day, the family had reached their breaking point. The paranormal activity escalated into a terrifying final assault, a chaotic symphony of banging, crashing, and disembodied screams that drove them from the house. In the middle of a freezing winter night, George, Kathy, and the children fled in terror, barefoot into the snow, leaving everything they owned behind. Furniture, clothes, toys, even the dog's food still sitting in its bowl, they abandoned it all without a second thought. They never returned. In the aftermath, paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren were called in to examine the house. They entered the empty home and immediately sensed what they described as a profoundly evil, demonic energy. During their investigation, they conducted a séance and set up cameras throughout the house. One of those cameras captured one of the most famous and chilling photographs in paranormal history. The image appears to show a small boy with glowing white eyes peering out from a doorway. Many believe this is the ghost of one of the murdered DeFeo children, forever trapped within the home. Of course, skeptics have long argued that the entire story was an elaborate hoax, a cash grab concocted by the Lutzes. They point to the lack of physical evidence and inconsistencies in their accounts. But until the day they died, George and Kathy Lutz never wavered from their story. They maintained that what they experienced was real, and that the evil from 112 Ocean Avenue had followed them long after they left. Today, the Amityville house still stands on that quiet Long Island street. Its address has been changed to deter tourists and thrill seekers, and its iconic eye-like windows have been remodeled. The current owners report that nothing unusual ever happens there. Yet, people who visit the street often describe an unsettling feeling as they stand outside the property, unshakable chill that crawls up the spine. A sense of being watched, as if the house itself is remembering the horrors it has witnessed. Perhaps the evil was never just in a person, but in the very land and the walls built upon it, a place that absorbs pain, feeds on tragedy, and waits in silence for its next victims. Is it just a legend born from grief and fear? Or, as every chilling whisper and haunting photograph suggests, are some houses born cursed, forever refusing to let the dead rest in peace? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into the darkness, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more unsettling stories.